Element 1 is about understanding an OHS management system and significance of auditing. It covers the explanation of management system and audit terminology and focuses on building an understanding about OHS management system and how audits can add value. Section 1 is about important terminology and their explanation in management system and audit context. The first terminology we shall discuss is process. ISO standard explained it as a set of interrelated or interacting activities which transforms input into outputs. Let's discuss it from everyday life examples. You must have seen similar process in your life, for example, tire changing, cooking, dishwashing, buying a car, etc. If you think any of these processes, you will note that these processes are a combination of various activities which collectively make a complete process. For example, for changing a tire, the activities could be opening the boot, getting the jack and serviceable tire out of the boot, loosening the nuts on a flat tire, raising the car with the jack, removing the flat tire, putting the serviceable tire, tightening the bolts, lower the jack and put the jack and flat tire back into the boot. All these activities combine together to complete the process. Examples of an OHS process may include the hazard identification process, risk assessment process, accident reporting process, accident investigation process, emergency evacuation process, training process, inspection process, or management review process, etc. The second terminology is procedure. ISO defined procedure as specified way to carry out an activity or a process. Let's discuss it from everyday life example. Procedure is the way a process is performed, that is specified method. Examples related to OHS include hazard identification procedure, training procedure, evaluation procedure. Procedure is the method used to perform a process. For example, if we consider traveling process, some may prefer walking while others may travel by cycling and some may travel through car, bus, train, aeroplane, etc. And some may think of using Elon Musk's upcoming rocket for speedy traveling. So any process can be performed through various ways and these are called procedures. There can be hundreds and even thousands of ways in which a process can be performed. For example, hazard identification procedure can be different for different organizations. Some may require its workers to carry out hazard identification, others may ask its safety professional to do this job, while some may hire a consultant for the same job. ISO 45001 also explains that procedures can be either documented or undocumented. So here is your first food for thought. Same procedure is being used for emergency evacuation in two different organizations. One organization has 100% effectiveness level, while other has less than 50% effectiveness level. Why is it so? What factors do you think contribute in effectiveness of the procedure? Pause this slide and think of the answer before I explain. Okay, just imagine a consultant wrote an emergency evacuation procedure and provided the same procedure to two different organizations. During the actual emergency situation at both the organizations, one organization effectively managed the emergency evacuation while the second organization created a chaos and half of the workers could not be timely evacuated. Now pause this slide and think why the same procedure resulted in two different outcomes. I shall explain later. There could be many reasons why one organization achieves effectiveness while the other does not by using the same evacuation procedures. One organization may have high level of awareness within its workforce who understand what they are supposed to do in case of emergency. Similarly, one organization may have an excellent OHS culture where they understand their responsibility in terms of the duty of care and do not risk others' safety. Instead, they try that vulnerable workers are evacuated before they get themselves out of the workplace. One organization may have excellent technology and infrastructure, for example, gadgets to alarm disabled workers and assisted evacuation. Similarly, one organization can have only single story building while other organization may have multi-story building and need vertical evacuation. So procedure is just one component and there are other components of a system or process which are people, plant or equipment and the premises. So there are total 4 P's of a system. 4 P's mean people, plant, procedure, and premises. So you as an auditor must bear in mind when reviewing a procedure, as mere a procedure review does not give 100% insight about the prospective effectiveness level of a procedure unless it is reviewed in context with who will be using the procedure, that is people, what technology shall be incorporated, that is plant or equipment, and what are the site conditions in which the procedure shall be used, that is premises. We shall discuss 4 P's of a system or process in subsequent slides, and you will have further clarity that why procedures alone can't guarantee effectiveness. Effectiveness. ISO standards explain effectiveness as it is the extent to which planned activities are realized and planned results achieved. Examples related to OHS can be emergency evacuation procedure. An example from daily life could be wall demolition, which we shall discuss in detail. Suppose you have to demolish a wall. You used a hammer to do this job. You worked 8 hours and made 1,000 strokes with the hammer. But at the end of the day, you were unable to demolish even a single brick of the wall. Although you did your best, still the whole exercise was not effective. Effectiveness in an OHS context is how well the procedure has been able to perform to achieve the desired results for which the procedure was established. For example, your organization has an emergency evacuation procedure, but during rehearsal, most of the workforce could not be evacuated from the workplace. This means that the procedure is ineffective. For the procedure to be effective, the 100% evacuation could have been made within stipulated time, for example, 2 minutes. Another example could be training. Your organization is spending huge amount on training, so OHS performance could be improved, but there is no improvement in OHS performance. This shows the training procedure is ineffective. Efficiency. ISO 19011 and ISO 45001 used the word efficiency but did not explain it. Efficiency relates to productivity, that is waste reduction, and costs or effort cuts. Efficiency in very simple word is output divided by input and is presented in percentage. An example related to OHS can be training. Suppose there are two different organizations that are facing workplace safety issues. Both organizations plan to conduct training for their workforce. Organization 1 spent $100,000 and managed training for all of its workforce through an external training provider, while Organization 2 spent $10,000 and sent its two safety professionals for external training, who subsequently trained all of their workforce. The training effectiveness has been the same for both organizations, as there has been the same level of improvement in OHS performance subsequent to the training. But the training process for Organization 1 was 10 times less financially efficient than Organization 2. Why are efficiency and effectiveness important from an auditor's perspective? The auditors have to report both the efficiency and effectiveness of a management system and its processes, as continual improvement means improvement in efficiency as well as the effectiveness. Okay, here is another food for thought. Give an example of a highly effective but highly inefficient OHS process. Also, give an example of highly efficient but highly ineffective OHS process. Pause this slide and think before I explain. As we have discussed earlier, that efficiency relates to cost and other resource savings. More efficient means more cost and resource saving, and less efficient means less cost and resource saving. There is a proverb to shoot a sparrow with a cannon. It means that although you achieve the results, but at what cost? Similarly, in OHS, you can achieve the intended results from a procedure, but sometimes the cost outweighs the benefits. For example, the organizational risk assessment and control procedure is highly effective and there has been no injuries, not even minor injuries. But the organization has spent 50% of its revenue on safety provisions. The organization has deployed costly engineering controls against insignificant hazards. What will be the outcome? The company will soon be financially bankrupt because they have achieved effectiveness through inefficient processes. On the other hand, there is an organization that has utilized 1% cost as compared to the organization mentioned previously on the risk assessment process and claims to utilize the in-house expertise, but they have quite bad OHS performance, which was attributed to the ineffective risk assessment process. So in this case, although the risk assessment process was efficient, but it was ineffective. From an audit perspective, you as an auditor must look if the processes are both efficient and effective. There must be an optimum level of efficiency and effectiveness, as if you increase one beyond a certain point, the other will go down. This is called LR, or as low as reasonably practicable in the OHS context. Interested party or stakeholder. It is a person or organization that can affect, be affected by, or perceive itself to be affected by a decision or an activity. You must be thinking that what is to be like perceive itself to be affected by a decision or activity. Perceive itself to be affected is a situation when someone thinks that the organizational activity shall have occupational health and safety issues for them. The perception of being affected by a decision is subjective and may not always reflect the reality of the situation. However, it is important to take into account people's perceptions and feelings when making decisions that may impact them, as this can affect their level of support or opposition to the decision. Examples of interested parties may include employees, contractors, visitors, the members of the public, regulatory bodies, investors, neighboring communities, etc. Policy. What is a policy? Intentions and direction of an organization as firmly expressed by its top management. What is an OHS policy as defined in ISO 45001? Policy to prevent work-related injury and ill health issues to workers and to provide a safe and healthy workplace. You must be thinking that how an OHS policy prevents work-related injury and ill health in workers and how it provides a safe and healthy workplace. After all, it's merely a combination of words. The OHS policy is not a mere combination of words, but it's a high-level commitment from the top management. It is a manifestation of the organization's intentions to provide a safe and healthy work environment and provide a framework for how it will be achieved. OHS policy of the organization is the guiding document on the basis of which the whole OHS management system is designed and managed. So OHS policy is very important document from an audit perspective too. Objectives. Objectives are the results to be achieved. It can be expressed as goals, aims, targets, intended outcomes, etc. ISO 45001 explains OHS objectives as objectives set by the organization to achieve specific results consistent with the OHS policy. OHS objectives can be set at the strategic level, tactical level, as well as operational level. For example, strategic objectives could be to reduce the risk of ill health issues due to manual handling. Tactical level objectives could be procedural changes. For example, awareness and training must be given before a worker is deployed on manual handling jobs. Safe load limits and procedures defined for all manual handling activities, and where needed, operational controls, for example, mechanical aids to be used. Health surveillance through workforce interviews and surveys could be made as a requirement for health monitoring. To ensure the workers do not carry out manual handling beyond the acceptable limit defined at tactical levels, operational OHS objectives may include limiting of manual handling activities through administrative controls, for example, shift rotation, breaks, days off from work, etc., to ensure the workers do not carry out manual handling beyond the acceptable limit defined at tactical level. Moreover, operational OHS objectives could be the risk assessments regarding manual handling and the use of mechanical aids as control measures. ISO 45001 used the example of noise exposure to explain strategic, tactical, and operational procedures. What do you think is the difference between OHS objectives and OHS policy? Pause this slide and think before I explain. There is a lot of confusion around OHS policy, as I have seen many people substituting it for an OHS management system. Similarly, people usually cannot distinguish between an OHS policy and OHS objectives. Let me explain it in the context of ISO 45001. Well, OHS policy is the organization's commitment and intentions to achieve the OHS vision. OHS policy is not time bound, rather, it's an ongoing commitment. Moreover, the whole organization will have a single OHS policy. Another aspect of OHS policy is that it does not establish any measurable goals. For example, there will be no mention of how much improvement in OHS management system because there is always room for improvement. OHS objectives, on the other hand, are steps taken by the organizations at various levels in order to meet the conditions set in OHS policy. Contrary to the OHS policy, the organizations can have more than one OHS objectives at each operational or functional level, and those are time bound. OHS objectives are always time bound and measurable either quantitatively or qualitatively. Let's see the OHS policy and a relevant OHS objective to understand the difference. Okay, go through this policy. Now go through the objectives as being displayed on your screen. Now if you compare the OHS policy and OHS objective, you will notice that the mentioned OHS objective will play a small part for the OHS policy's big commitment. For example, improve the OHS management system by improving the hazard identification process's effectiveness. But if the organization needs to ensure the full commitment of OHS policy, they will also need to set OHS objectives for a number of other OHS management system processes, for example, communication, operational control, emergency evacuation, inspections and audits, etc. And as you know that not all work centers can set all the OHS objectives in a single year. They will keep on setting and achieving OHS objectives on an ongoing basis over years. The end result will be an efficient and effective OHS management system as envisaged in OHS policy. If you still need clarification regarding the difference between OHS policy and OHS objectives, then let me explain it with a simple daily life example. Let's discuss policy and objectives at a personal level. Let's say you invite a friend to a dinner and your friend is reluctant to eat processed food. You ask him the reason and he says that I have made a policy for my health and mental well-being, which is I shall maintain a healthy lifestyle to ensure I do not get obese anytime during my life. He further explains that he has set different objectives to ensure he complies with his personal health and well-being policy. These objectives include Objective 1, for example, I shall not eat any processed food more than once a month. Objective 2, I shall do exercise for 1 hour daily at least 5 days a week. Now, if you see the policy and objectives, you will clearly understand the difference. The policy is a broad statement and commitment, while objectives are small aims and targets which are consistent with the personal policy goals. From this example, you can clearly relate the difference between OHS policy and OHS objectives. What is performance? ISO explained it as measurable result. What is OHS performance? It is the performance related to the effectiveness of the prevention of injury and ill health to workers and the provision of safe and healthy workplace. In simple words, performance is how effectively and efficiently the job has been done. Performance can be excellent, good, average, bad or poor, depending upon the standard one sets for the performance. It is a relative term. In most cases, for example, for some organization, up to 5% repeat non-conformities will be an excellent performance, while for others, even 1% repeat non-conformities may be a poor performance. What is a performance indicator? OHS performance indicators are a set of quantifiable measurements that will be used to assess the performance of the OHS management system of the organization. There is a famous quotation that if you can measure it, you can improve it. So in order to improve the OHS management system, the prerequisite is to measure it. But you must ask, what should we measure? This is very important for OHS professionals and specifically for the auditors to understand what should an organization measure in order to improve the performance of its OHS management system. The simple answer to this is they should measure the performance indicators, sometimes also referred to as key performance indicators or KPIs. This is up to the organizations. Whatever they decide is important for them to measure, which as a result will tell them how their OHS management system is performing. This is called establishing KPIs for OHS management system. It is, however, an OHS auditor's job to see if the established KPIs set by the organizations are effective or not. For example, some organizations may call the number of non-conformities a performance indicators, while others may call the number of repeated non-conformities a measure of performance. The mistake which most organizations make is that they set insignificant things as their KPIs while leaving the significant things unmeasured. This results in having a wrong picture of the OHS management system performance. So they keep on wasting their resources without any positive impact on OHS performance. It is therefore very important for the auditors to include this in their checklist when they are supposed to audit an organization because it is the basis for OHS management system auditing. For example, an organization has set the following poor KPIs for their OHS performance. The number of OHS procedures established during the year. They think more the documents, the better the performance, which is wrong. The number of non-conformities. They think less the non-conformities identified, the better performance, which too is wrong. Attendance of the employees. They think if employees are coming to the workplace, it means it is safe. So here is another food for thought. Why do the organizations need to establish OHS performance indicators or KPIs? So pause this slide and think before I explain. Whenever someone asks me any question which starts with why, for example, why do we do this? Then the first thing which strikes my mind is, do we have any other way of doing things better? If yes, then I don't get stubborn to stick to my way of doing things. So here the question is, why do the organizations need to establish OHS performance KPI? You must think, what if the organizations don't set or establish the KPIs? What good or bad will happen? If there is something good in not setting KPIs, then we'll leave KPIs discussion aside and we'll tell the world that okay, we were doing it all wrong. This is how innovation works, by the way. So let's imagine an organization has established an OHS management system. As they are investing time, money, and other resources in OHS management system, they need to know how the OHS management system is performing, good or bad. Only if they know it, then they can improve it. And for this, they need to measure the OHS management system's performance, right? But what exactly they should measure? The height of its employees, or the backup time of each shift, or the shoe size of each employee? Definitely none of these will help them in understanding the performance of their OHS management system. So what should they do? Shouldn't they measure something related? But there will be hundreds of related things, for example, incident data, risk assessment effectiveness, accident investigations, findings, regulatory audit reports, employees' morale, emergency evacuation rehearsals outcome, OHS objectives, communication effectiveness, the effectiveness of risk control strategies, root cause identification process effectiveness, corrective and preventive action process effectiveness, and many more. But if the organization start measuring all the OHS performance indicators, they will need more inspection staff than the actual number of workers required for operational duties. So what they should do? They should only measure what is more related and what is more significant. For example, measuring a number of OHS incidents data is more significant than measuring the participation and involvement of workers in OHS matters. So to have an effective and efficient measuring and monitoring process within the organization, the KPIs must be established which should be relevant and significant for OHS management system as we discussed. What are the performance standards? OHS performance standards are what you expect your KPIs to achieve. That is the level of performance. Once you set KPIs, you also need to know what it looked like to be excellent, good, average, below average, or poor, etc. For example, if the organization has set number of repeated non-conformities as one of their KPI, then they may set 0 or less than 1% for excellent performance. Similarly, if the organization has set emergency evacuation time as their KPI, they may set the performance standard as a maximum of 2 minutes to be excellent, 2.5 minutes as good, and above 3 minutes as poor. Once we set a required target against KPIs, we actually set the performance standards. Measuring. It is a process to measure a value. Measuring is part of our daily life. We measure things or take decision on the basis of measurements. For example, if you have to travel from one city to another city, then you will first see how far is it. It means you will check the distance in kilometers or miles and will plan your itinerary accordingly. But is measuring sugar or measuring temperature similar to measuring performance? In OHS management system, the measurement may not be as simple as measuring on the scale, as organizations often have to establish the scales themselves to measure the performance. The role of auditors is to evaluate if the established scale and the measurement is taken from those scales are effective or not. I'll give you an example. You are supposed to audit an organization that has claimed that its OHS culture has improved over time. What is the first question as an auditor which may strike to your mind? Definitely, you will ask, how do you measure the culture performance to see if it is improving or not? The organizational rep will then let you know they have designed a scale to measure OHS culture, which, for example, is a combination of the following: number of OHS incidents, number of suggestions by workers related to OHS, number of incident reporting. So in this case, as we see, the organization has designed its own scale to measure. Another organization may have a different scale to measure the same performance area. So here is another food for thought. An organization claimed that its OHS culture is improving. They designed following scale to measure the performance of their OHS culture. Number one indicator, number of OHS incident and number of suggestions by workers related to OHS, number of incident reporting. What do you think is wrong with above information alone and is not sufficient to decide if OHS culture is improving or not? Pause this slide and think of the answer before I explain. As you see, the organization has just set the KPIs, but as we discussed earlier in the performance standard section, the organization must decide what level of performance is excellent and what level of performance is average or poor against each KPI. Moreover, if there are more than one KPIs to measure something, then what is the contribution of each KPI in the overall performance? For example, imagine if KPI 1 is showing improvement but KPI 2 is showing a decline, then how the organization shall decide the overall performance? Let's assume that the indicators established for measuring the OHS cultures have the following data over the last 3 years. As you can see on this slide, indicator 1 shows an improvement while indicator 2 is showing a decline. The third indicator is also showing a decline. But the real question as an auditor, you will ask, how did the organization decide if the OHS culture is improving based on this data, because one indicator is showing improvement while other two indicators are showing a decline in performance? I as an auditor will only be convinced if they show me the following. The organization has established a specific weightage to each indicator in percentage. For example, they say we have given the first indicator, which is number of OHS incidents, 40% weightage. The second indicator 35% weightage and third indicator 25% weightage. The more significant an indicator is, the more weightage it will have in the final calculation. It is therefore the auditor's job to also review if the weightage given to each indicator is justified or not. If the auditor thinks that the weightage given is not justified, then they may raise the observations. Performance does not necessarily be based on quantitative data only, as sometimes the qualitative data is also used to measure the OHS performance. In the same example, the organization could gather OHS culture improvement data through surveys, interviews, or observations. But the organization must set the criteria and the standard for the analysis of qualitative data in order to make a judgment. Monitoring. It is determining the status of a system, a process, or an activity. Monitoring is the surveillance, observing, or checking of a system or its components over a period of time. It's a continued activity. Monitoring sometimes includes measurement as well. For example, you carry out the workplace noise exposure measurements after every 1 hour to collect the data in order to see what times are the workers being exposed to the excessive level of noise. This process of measurement over a period of time, collect data for analysis and evaluation is called monitoring. Monitoring is also carried out to detect the presence or absence of something, for example, toxic gas or airborne chemicals in the work environment. Monitoring is used to observe the trends and patterns for subsequent decision making. In such cases, there is no measurement, rather a comparative analysis through observation is carried out. Remember that in an OHS management system, the organizations may need to carry out both measurement and monitoring activities. For example, if there is a requirement to comply with the legal limits for exposure with airborne chemicals, then a continuous monitoring of the environment shall be required. Similarly, the accuracy of monitoring equipment shall need to be measured as required as part of the calibration process. Here is another food for thought. What is the difference between measuring and monitoring? Think of an example from OHS management systems audit perspective. Pause this slide and think of the answer before I explain. Measuring and monitoring are two important terms in the field of occupational health and safety. While both of these terms involve collecting data, there are some key differences between them. Measuring refers to the process of taking a single quantitative reading or value at a specific point in time. This could involve taking a measurement of a particular physical parameter such as noise level or air quality using a monitoring device. Measuring is often used to establish a baseline for a particular metric and to compare it against a target or standard. Monitoring, on the other hand, involves ongoing or continuous collection of data over time. This can involve taking measurements at regular intervals and tracking trends in the data. Monitoring can be used to identify changes or trends in a particular metric and to take actions if necessary. An example of measuring and monitoring in an OHS management system might involve monitoring workplace noise levels to ensure that they do not exceed established exposure limits. Measurement could involve taking a single reading of the noise level in a particular area using a sound level meter, while monitoring would involve regularly taking noise measurements over time and tracking trends to identify any areas where noise levels are increasing. If the monitoring data indicates that noise levels are increasing in a particular area, this could trigger an investigation to identify the source of the noise and take steps to mitigate the risk to employees. By using both measuring and monitoring in this way, an OHS management system can help to ensure a safe and healthy work environment for employees.